Hey there. So in this video, we are going to chat about the crazy cool disruptive innovations that are going to change the world as we know it in the next decade. We are talking about things like AI, robotics, totally new ways of getting around and more. It's going to be a wild ride and we can't wait to dive in and explore what the future has in store for us. The video will be in a couple of parts, so subscribe and don't miss the next trillion-dollar industries. Okay. Let's get started on this journey to the future. So what is a disruptive innovation, you might ask? Disruptive innovations are new products, services, or technologies that create a new market and eventually disrupt or displace established products or services. For example, the internet and the World Wide Web transformed the way we access information and communicate with one another. Smartphones disrupted the traditional mobile phone market and changed the way people access the internet and consume media. Streaming services such as Netflix disrupted the traditional television and movie rental industries, and so on. Now let's start with the most obvious one, artificial intelligence. 2022 was the year of generative AI. Generative AI is all about creating new stuff. Think images, videos, music, and text. It works by training AI models on big data sets and then using those models to make new original content. It's not just about performing specific tasks. It's about creating some things that's never existed before. This could change the way we do things in design, advertising, media, and more. DALL-E and Midjourney are the most popular platforms for text-to-image right now. You can see how amazing they are. You can write a text and generate original images based on that. In my experience, details really matter, so try explain different aspects of what image you want so you'd get the best results. AI is also increasing the productivity of knowledge workers. For example, software engineers completed a coding task in less than half the time with the AI coding assistant GitHub Copilot. Or for example, in generative image models, according to this research, AI can create a graphic design for just 8 cents in less than a minute, while the same task is completed by a professional human in several hours and approximately $150. On the other hand, AI training costs are decreasing yearly. So what is AI training? It is basically teaching a computer program called an AI model how to do something specific. This is done by feeding the model lots of data and tweaking its settings until it can predict or make decisions accurately. The idea is to make the AI model work well with new, unfamiliar data in real-life situations. To train an AI model, you need to pick the right algorithm and then fine-tune it using fancy techniques like backpropagation and gradient descent. Mosaic ML recently released AI training tools that can train language models to GPT-3 level performance for just $450,000, roughly one-tenth the $4.6 million 2 years ago. AI training costs are dropping 70% per year, even faster than the 60% estimate based on previous research. And according to Wright's law, AI relative compute unit production costs and software costs should decline 57% and 47% at annual rates respectively. In other words, the convergence of hardware and software could drop AI training costs down by 70% at an annual rate through 2030. Proprietary data could create competitive advantage for businesses that hold unique data sets. High-quality domain-specific AI training data could result in a winner-takes-most outcome across vertical applications. For example, Tesla has lots of data that it can use to train better AIs for autonomous driving, and these big data sets give the edge to these companies. Based on 70% annualized drop in training costs and feedback loops, AI coding assistants like Copilot could increase the output of a software engineer tenfold by 2030. Released by OpenAI in November 2022, ChatGPT uses large language models to generate text in response to user prompts. Within 5 days of launch, the number of users reached 1 million. While the inference costs to run the model at the scale are 1 cent per query, Wright's law suggests that by 2030, ChatGPT-style applications will be deployable at the scale of Google search, processing 8.5 billion searches per day. According to this research, AI should increase the productivity of knowledge workers more than fourfold by 2030. At 100% adoption, AI spend of $41 trillion could increase the labor productivity to $200 trillion, dwarfing the $32 trillion in knowledge worker salaries and rivaling the current projections of global GDP in 2030. If vendors were to capture 10% of value created by their products, AI software could generate up to $14 trillion in revenue and $90 trillion in enterprise value in 2030. The second big thing are digital consumers. Thanks to the productivity gains associated with generative AI, daily hours worked globally could decline 0.9% on average at an annual rate during the next 5 years, from 4.7 hours in 2022 to 4.4 hours in 2030, an accelerated decline from the -0.4% prior rate as of 2013. Consumers will reallocate extra time to online instead of offline activities, increasing the share of total waking hours spent online from 39% in 2022 to 53% in 2030. Connected TV, which refers to television sets that are connected to the internet and can access streaming services, social media, and other online content, provides advertisers with the targeting and attribution measurements once reserved for traditional digital advertisers. Combining the advantages of linear TV and digital advertising, CTV could capture share of both brand and performance ad budgets. A meaningful disconnect exists between viewership and advertising budgets in the US, and advertisers will close this gap within the next 5 years. As it displaces linear TV's once dominant role in the US, total CTV ad spend should grow 20% in real terms at a compound annual rate from $21 billion in 2022 to more than $50 billion in 2027. After declining 2% at an annual rate for the past 5 years, US linear TV ad spend should decline 8% at an annual rate during the next 5 years, from $70 billion to $45 billion by 2027. With improved ad targeting and measurement, CTV advertising should overtake linear TV advertising in the next 5 years. In 2022, TikTok and Facebook were roughly equal in engagement hours, which could mark the peak in traditional follow and feed social media. Despite scaling faster than other social media platforms, TikTok accounted for only $10 billion, or 2% market share of the estimated $470 billion spent on search, video, and social ads in 2022. Content-based social media is likely to capture advertising share more in line with its engagement hours. Demand for sports betting remains strong, even in a tough economy. Total sports betting in the US and Canada increased an estimated 83% year-over-year to $117 billion in 2022. As a percent of total sports betting volume, online has scores from 17% in 2018 to 86% in 2022. Based on this research, online sports betting in the US and Canada is likely to grow 27% in real terms at an annual rate during the next 5 years, from $100 billion in 2022 to roughly $330 billion in 2027. During the same time, in-person betting is likely to grow 11% at an annual rate, from $16 billion to $27 billion. Immersive virtual experiences should galvanize the next wave of gaming. As the gaming industry transitions to full-service virtual worlds, video games and social media could merge as consumers socialize and entertain in game-supported virtual spaces, at the expense of physical environments. According to research, the convergence between gaming and social media should boost the growth in gaming revenue from 7% at a compound annual rate during the past 5 years to 10% during the next 5 years. Based on the introduction of property rights, digital assets should accrue significant value. Physical and intellectual property rights correlate positively to GDP per capita, a common proxy for quality of life. In our view, thanks to decentralized proof of ownership, digital assets are likely to increase online spending per capita. Forecasts show that global NFT transaction volume will grow more than fivefold from 22 billion today to 120 billion by 2027. Global consumers spend 21% of their 31 trillion leisure budget on digitally facilitated goods and services in 2022. Demand for digital goods and services is likely to grow 17% at an annual rate in real terms, surpassing demand for physically facilitated goods and services in 2029. And based on the shift toward digital leisure and digital property rights, real digital revenue should grow 14% at annual rate during the next 8 years, from $2 trillion in 2022 to $5 trillion in 2030. The next big thing is digital wallet. A digital wallet is a software-based system that securely stores users' information and credentials. It allows users to make transactions, pay bills, and store loyalty card information in a convenient and secure manner, without the need for physical cards or cash. Digital wallets are gaining share in online and offline transactions. In 2021, digital wallets facilitated 49% of e-commerce transactions, up from 18% in 2016. Since 2016, digital wallets have been gaining share at the expense of credit cards, bank transfers, and cash. In 2021, digital wallets facilitated 29% of offline transactions, nearly double the 16% in 2018. Overtaking cash as the primary means of offline transactions, digital wallets continue to gain share. They are scaling faster than accounts at traditional financial institutions. The network effects associated with low customer acquisition costs and superior user experience are powering digital wallets adoption. US digital wallet adoption rebounded in 2022, surpassing previous highs. According to estimates, US digital wallet users will increase 7% at an annual rate during the next 8 years, from 160 million in 2022 to more than 260 million, while the number of global digital wallet users increases 8% at an annual rate, hitting 5.6 billion, which is 65% of the global population by 2030. They also create closed-loop ecosystems for consumers and merchants. After acquiring billions of users, digital wallets are onboarding millions of merchants to platforms that enable direct consumer-merchant transactions that disintermediates traditional financial institutions. And it eliminates middlemen by enabling direct payments between consumers and merchants. In the traditional payment chain, several intermediaries take tolls on payments between consumers and merchants. By enabling in-network transactions, digital wallets providers capture more value per transaction and can share the savings with merchants and consumers. These type of transactions could account for more than 50% of digital wallet payments by 2030. Commonplace in mainland China, closed-loop transactions could disintermediate third parties and generate nearly 50 billion in cost savings for digital wallet platforms, consumers, and merchants outside of mainland China, potentially adding 450 billion to the 1 trillion in total enterprise value of digital wallets platforms by 2030. Okay, the next big thing is the public blockchain. A public blockchain is a decentralized distributed ledger technology that allows for secure, transparent, and tamper-proof record-keeping of transactions. It operates on a network of nodes where each node has a copy of the ledger and participates in verifying transactions. Public blockchains are open and accessible to anyone, meaning that anyone can participate as a node. Here in this chart, you can see the events and their effects on crypto market cap. Contagion wiped out $1.5 trillion in crypto market capitalization in 2022. Despite a severe downturn, public blockchains continue to foster multiple revolutions. Let's investigate each. First is monetary revolution. Centralized monetary systems have failed to provide strong economic assurances. More than 4 billion people live under authoritarian regimes. More than 2 billion suffer from double-digit inflation. More than 1 billion cannot use traditional payment transfer apps. And again, more than 1 billion people rely on remittances. So how does blockchain overcome these challenges? First, Bitcoin is censorship resistant, which means the barriers to transacting on Bitcoin are low, the only requirement being possession of a private key. Second, Bitcoin is inflation resistant. The number of Bitcoin created is mathematically metered and predictable, according to a predefined schedule. The supply of Bitcoin outstanding is 19 million now and capped at 21 million units. Bitcoin is also seizure resistant. Bitcoin combines elliptic curve cryptography and secure custody to ensure independent property rights. And then Bitcoin is auditable and transparent. Bitcoin decision-making is transparent and decentralized. Running a full node, a user is free to validate transactions and audit supply. The second revolution is the financial revolution, which is based on the decentralized finance. Now more than 2 billion people lack access to basic banking services, including account management and credit. The opacity of traditional financial institutions has caused catastrophic financial collapses. Counterparty risk among traditional financial institutions result in single point of failure. And centralized decision-making enables rampant rent-seeking. The third revolution is the Internet revolution, which is based on Web3. The Internet relies on tech monopolies that exploit, own, and monetize user data. Online identity and reputation are not interoperable. Centralized decision-makers dictate the discovery of information, subjectively moderating content and communication. So how does Web3 solve all of this? Web3 introduces digital property rights for the first time. Web3 relies on protocols, not platforms. Decentralized protocols enable the governance of and open access to distributed data, limiting central aggregator control. It enables new monetization paradigms. It embeds economics into software, enabling users to monetize and participate in network development. It also enables the convergence between consumption and investment. Consumer behavior is shifting as the economy becomes digitally native, enabling a new paradigm for purchasing, owning, and using goods and services. Crypto assets could also rival and redefine traditional asset classes, as you can see in this chart. Okay, the next big one is Bitcoin, which I think you all know about. Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency, also known as a cryptocurrency, that allows for peer-to-peer transaction without the need of intermediaries such as banks. It was created in 2009 by an anonymous individual or group of individuals using the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. Transactions with Bitcoin are recorded on a public ledger called the blockchain, which we talked about. Okay, so the drawdown from Bitcoin's all-time high was the 5th largest and 2nd longest in its history. In the charts, you can see the drawdowns from its peak based on the duration, and also you can compare them to other drawdowns in other times in history of Bitcoin. But despite these severe drawdowns, Bitcoin has outperformed every major asset class over longer time horizon. Here you can see that Bitcoin's compound annual returns are positive over 3, 4, and 5-year time horizons. You can also see that compared to other assets, it has performed much better. You can see here that although it's way down from its peak, but the fundamentals are much stronger despite these drawdowns. And despite extreme market fear fueled by the collapse of several major crypto entities, On-chain data suggests that Bitcoin holders remain focused on long-term fundamentals. There are more holders than any time in history. And Bitcoin's hash rate, which is the number of computations per second produced by miners and the proxy for network security, has increased for 12 consecutive years, hitting an all-time high of 272 exahashes per second in 2022. Bitcoin mining, which is the process that creates new Bitcoins by solving math problems with specialist computers, and miners are rewarded with Bitcoins for their work, is ideal for oil and gas well sites. It is distributed and highly scalable with modular hardware that can be transported to and shifted among operating well sites. Because oil and gas well lifespans are limited, Bitcoin mining could make the difference between high and low returns on investment. And it can use over 265 billion cubic meters of natural gas that are wasted each year at wells. Bitcoin is likely to scale into a multi-trillion-dollar market. Research suggests that the price of one Bitcoin could exceed $1 million by 2030. And you can see the projection for both bull and bear cases. Thank you for watching my video. This was part 1 of the 3-part video that I'm gonna talk about in the next ones. Subscribe so you wouldn't miss the next trillion-dollar ideas. This video was made based on ARK Investment Company research.